Thank you once again for visiting me. I remain Comrade Kennedy Iyere. Of course, you know, when it comes to dispensing or divulging the truth, I'm always very reliable. I just say it the way it is. A very direct answer to your question is a capital no. And I will explain why it's a capital no. It's a capital no because there is everything wrong with the coalition. The coalition has to do with people of personal interest. A coalition is organic when it happens for the expediency of it. Expediency, the necessity for such. When the people involved are not in pursuit of personal interests, which could bring about variance in the short and the long run. First, the coalition is not organic, it is not authentic, it is not germane, it's not genuine. The reasons are obvious. The people who have come together to form that coalition, who are they? You know, when you have an action, there is always a cause to every action. David Mark, the interim chairman, who is he? And why did he leave the PDP? Why did he accept the responsibility or role of chairing this coalition? Lack of relevance in the politics of this country. David Mark suddenly had gone into coma after 20 years as a senator. And don't forget, he has this record that he, as we speak, has been the long-serving president of the Senate, the 6th and the 7th Assembly. If he was still relevant, if he didn't go into political coma, would that man have accepted to be the chairman of a new group, leaving a party that has made him everything that he has become? The answer is no. The quest to become relevant is obviously the reason this thing came about. Not because they want to rescue our country. That's by the side. Atiku, of course, has always wanted to be president of Nigeria. I like him for his determination, but he's not getting it right because of the wrong approach. I will zero on him first, but I will go now to Amici. It has become a norm that when politicians are fading out, they tend to embrace a kind of unnecessary merger. Irrelevant coalition is bettered. I hope you know, Amici was not just part of the gladiators that formed the APC. Record and history have it that he was one of the governors that bankrolled that merger. Openly, you are press people, you know more of this, but as an activist, I have the facts. Lagos and Rivers were the foremost states that backrolled the activities of the APC merger. Amici was the speaker under the PDP, 8 years. He became governor 8 years. Don't forget, he had a fallout with Jonathan, and he became rebellious against his party. They formed the APC to wrestle power from the PDP, and then rescue Nigeria, being a lie now. He became the Minister of Transportation for 8 years, contested the primaries that produced the candidacy of the incumbent president and lost. Then he was thrown out of the cycle of the APC. And now he is part of those who orchestrated this coalition being bettered. If I want to ask you in a reasonable manner, you know the truth already, being an intelligent member of the press. Is it Aregbesola? That one is still a mentee of Asiwaju. Asiwaju removed him from political obscurity into political prominence. He was a director in the presidential campaign organization that brought Asiwaju into office as governor of Lagos State in 1999. He became the commissioner of works and infrastructure, Lagos. You know what that means? There are some smaller states you put together, 10 of them. His own portfolio of being the commissioner of works and infrastructure, Lagos State. He has access to more funds than some governors, some small states. He did that. From there. He became the governor of Osun State. Of course, you knew he couldn't have become governor. Of course, you know, he knew that without the support of Asiwaju, largely or hugely. When he left, he became the Minister of Interior for 80 years. Do you think Asiwaju would have listed him as member of his cabinet without the support of Asiwaju, knowing fully the role Asiwaju himself played in the APC merger of 2015? Calculate. These people, since the birth of modern democracy, these three people have mentioned have been in power till they had the fallout most recently. Is it El-Rufai? You remember El-Rufai was part of the merger too? The man who promised to trek from one certain spot in Kaduna to government house if elected, which he did. What happened? That was the same man who threatened the EU and foreign observers that if they are not careful, dead bodies in a sack. You remember how he coined that statement that became a viral statement. That man was also screened, was about to be screened before he was dropped for ministerial appointment. He didn't reject. He campaigned vigorously for Asiwaju until they had a fallout. Check. Disgruntled politicians that are beginning to lose their relevance, coming together to form a coalition because they now believe that is the norm we have today, that once you're out of favor with your party, you move elsewhere in the name of coalition. That cannot work again. Now, old format. The ADC ticket is Atiku's ticket. I don't have to miss words over that. Atiku is the owner of the APC ticket, ADC ticket. Atiku is a veteran when it comes to winning primaries. A man who competed against lions and had the process manipulated in his favor. Is it the same man that will come around with antelopes and lose? Forget about that. Atiku is the owner of that ticket. You know, before I go further to explain to you, the only way power can be taken from Asiwaju is if people like us, like me, do ahead of the 2027 what we did ahead of the 2023 when we formed the Obedient Movement. That Obedient Movement, we formed it. Obi didn't know how and when, how and where. We formed the Obedient Movement because we wanted something new. That was a people's movement that came on its own in an organic manner. We were the architect. I was the precursor. Forget what anybody may have to say. I will soon release a documentary on that. You know, anybody can make claim to anything. All these people who insult us on the internet today, if you say I'm not supporting Obi, they keep insulting us on the internet. They didn't know the price we paid We beg the PDP to give Obi to us. Can you overrule the role of Payo Adembajo, Chief Ike Clark, Air Commodore Dan Suleiman, all of blessed memory? Or you want to undermine what the Middle Belt Forum did, Beatrice Pogu, the only one remaining now? You want to undermine what people like Okwadike did, Igbo Elders Consultative Forum? And Eze Igbo did not even support Peter from the onset. They resisted me. All these boys making noise now. The agitation for restructuring that started in 2019. 2019 was an open window for Atiku to have become president. An election he arguably won. That was the same day, on the day of election. You remember what INEC did? Postponing the election after people had left their places because they knew where the pendulum was swinging, and all that INEC wanted to do could not be perfected if the elections were to be held that day. Leave that. I don't want to go into that. That was what made me to knock Rufai. I knocked his head when he was trying to say what he didn't know. The only force that can take power away from Asiwaju has not come. And that force is the youth force. When the youth force appears and the youth force chooses to power the ADC, they will have a chance. If the youth force chooses to power the Labour Party, they will have a chance. The youth force is the youth force. What are we talking about? When the young people who have the capacity, the young people who have the power to make things happen, 60% of the 93 million or 94 million ballots belong to the young people, youth and women. When we sit down again, if we have a reason for such and say, you know what, let's create a force that will change the old order, and now choose to correct the ease of the 2023 election, putting a compelling force on INEC to make sure is either you do it right or it ends inconclusive. That is when the incumbent will know there is a force to compete with him. Not all this coalition. The coalition, by the way, look at all of them. Those who are, it is easier for you to say, oh, we saw in Lagos, a mammoth crowd came to welcome Aregbesola at the airport. In the Nigeria of today, the plus and minus and the ABCD put together that led to that mammoth crowd waiting for him. You can't overrule the possibility of inducement. Are you getting what I'm saying? So there is only one force, the youth force. That was the force we used in 2023 to demystify the APC, demystify the PDP, take a weak Labour Party, adopt Peter Obi, and became the political nightmare all the gladiators ever there